Hey guys, in this week's email for insight, what I want to point to is your truth detector. The hardest part for you in this, well, I'll say the hardest part for many people that was for me is actually how simple this is. That's the part that if you're anything like me, which you might be because you're my people, we're each other's people. We have been looking in this direction for a while. We've had the same curiosity around what makes life wonderful and how to get the most out of life. And if you have been looking at it the way that I've been looking at it in the past, and many of you have because I pointed you in that direction, your intellect might fight you just a little bit on how simple this is. So what I want to point to is the simplicity of how well your truth detector works. And that's a feeling. It's a feeling, plain and simple. And I want to reread what I read in the call this week about what Sid would say to help people see, when he was speaking to them and he could see their looking all confused and frustrated, trying to intellectually grasp it. He would say, you don't have to understand this in order to get it, right? Just relax and enjoy the feeling. If you're getting the feeling, you're getting the understanding. This is because what we are all made of is pure consciousness. You can't escape it. You can't leave that state. You can't depart from it. You can't entirely forget the truth of the entire universe. It exists within you. It's what you're made of. And the pure consciousness that we're made of is what is at the root of that truth detector. We're pure consciousness when we're born into the human body, then we are born into contaminated thought. There's something kind of cool about the contaminated thinking, though, because it's what actually has us forget the truth. And there's something really beautiful about waking up. And the journey that we're on is waking up, but it's waking up to what's already inside of you. So the whole journey that we are going to be going on, that's why I wanted to point to this for this week, is that there's a simple truth detector that's built into your system. The truth detector does not work intellectually. It works with a feeling. If you recall back in your life the moments of having a realization or an insight, those very often, always come when your personal thinking, when your intellect quiets down. That's why people have so many insights in the shower. When that quiets down, wisdom, the intellect, the wisdom, the intelligence of the entire universe can get through and whisper things to us that have us gain perspective for our life, for anything that appears to be a problem or whatever it is, the problem or an opportunity, whatever's going on in our life is a part of what we're looking at. And if we let our intellect drop, insight can get through. And the way that feels, you'll notice when you've had realizations, when you had a problem and you didn't know what to do about it, and then you let it go, or you got in the shower, you stopped thinking about it for a moment, and then a thought occurred. And that thought was something new. It was something fresh. Think about the feeling that thought brought. I would bet money that it brought a surge of energy, a surge of life force, some vitality. That's the feeling that I'm pointing to. That's the feeling that you want to listen for in our journey. That's the feeling that is navigating you beyond the intellect of everything that I'll be pointing to, is that feeling. And so watch for that, not just in our conversations, but as you go about your days and your moments, to just notice when the feeling comes. And when you notice that good feeling, make a little more space for it if you can. If it let's just notice it. That's it. Just just enjoy it. When you put a word to something, it's easier to find, it's easier to acknowledge, it's easier to appreciate. And having the words of these 3 principles are going to give you a specific way of recognizing what has always been going on inside of you, that allows you to create less interference to your nature and let your nature work the way that it's intended to. I recently bought a big fancy camera at the beginning of this year, and it was and Final Cut Pro, and I haven't made a single project with it this whole year, and I had a new team member come out to film something this last weekend, and the equipment was new to her too, and so she accidentally filmed the talk that I did in slow-mo. Right? Because when we don't understand how to use the equipment, we're not as able to create as much with it. And so a lot of what we're going to be up to in this journey is understanding the equipment. When you understand how brilliantly you're designed, you're able to relax into it a lot more and trust it. When we do that, we just naturally create less interference. When we create less interference, the creative life force that is who we are, that is every molecule of our being. Every molecule is 99.9999999% energy, and that energy is creative energy that responds to thought. And when we start to make space for that creative life force, really cool stuff happens. We can create a lot more. And one of the most important things about how we work to understand is this truth detector, is the feedback system, the feeling. So you're going to be starting to relate to your feelings differently. Your good feelings, you're going to be making more space. You're just going to be noticing those, where they're pointing you. The negative feelings, you'll also begin to relate to those differently. But this week, I want to invite you to look towards that good feeling. The good feelings. That's truth. That's the pure consciousness of who you are, re-alivening the truth. You're seeing something more. Remember, Sid said there's only 2 things that make people change: seeing truth with a capital T and hanging out in a good feeling. And when we hang out in a good feeling, what that does is it opens our minds. It opens our hearts. Our consciousness expands. We have more perspective. We're looking at the world around us from higher ground. We're able to see more truth. Common sense solutions become obvious to us. It's sort of like that elusive obvious. It was there all along, you just didn't see it. So that's what I want to invite you guys to pay attention to and just begin to notice this week. And we'll see what you see. Happy exploring.